Hello everyone, and welcome to the Felix Frame, where we frame the news you need to know. We're your hosts.
I'm Miley Edwards.
And I'm Chris Knapp.
Last Friday, we were supposed to publish our first episode of the year.
But, sadly, due to some technical difficulties, we were not able to publish until Tuesday.
So let's get right into the news.
Variety show auditions will be September 10th and 12th in McHale Auditorium.
There will also be bus evacuations on those days.
September 11th is an e-learning day, so there will be no in-person schooling.
Now here is Maida Bradbury to tell us all about sports.
I'm Maida Bradbury, and here's your weekly sports schedule for this week. So on Friday, 9/6, we will have varsity football versus Lafayette Central Catholic at home with a 7 p.m. kickoff. This will be the first conference game of our new Hoosier Conference. On Saturday, September 7th, we'll have girls varsity golf at Battleground and cross country at Brownsburg with boys tennis playing at Crown Point. On Monday, September 9th, we'll have boys soccer conference starting. They will be playing on the 9th, the 10th, the 12th, and the 14th. Boys JV football will also play Lafayette Central Catholic on Monday at Lafayette Central Catholic. Girls volleyball will be playing at Wabash. On Tuesday, September 10th, girls soccer will be at Twin Lakes, which is also a conference game, and boys tennis will face Lafayette Jeff at home. Girls volleyball will face Rensselaer Central at Rensselaer Central, and girls varsity golf will be at Rochester in a three-way match. On Wednesday, September 11th, girls varsity golf will be at Peru, facing Peru and Maconaquah, and we also have no school. Thursday, September 12th, girls volleyball will face North White at home, and boys tennis will also be at home facing Kokomo. Then on Friday, September 13th, boys varsity football will be playing Benton Central at Benton Central, which is also a conference game. Thank you!
Over the summer, you may have seen the tennis courts swarmed with construction workers.
So here is a conversation with varsity tennis player Goldie Kitchell on how she feels about the new tennis courts. So what is your name and grade?
My name is Goldie Kitchell. I'm a junior.
And you're a varsity tennis player for girls tennis?
Yes, I am.
Alright. How did the state of the tennis courts affect your playing?
The past state of the tennis courts, when they were really cracky, it really affected us. I mean, we couldn't run very well. We were tripping on cracks, a few falls every now and again. It's not very good. It's honestly a hazard. If you go to other schools like McCutcheon, they won't play on tennis courts with a few minor cracks, and ours were pretty major. So when schools would come over and stuff, they'd say, well, your courts are so cracky and all this and that could be used as a blame for losing or whatever. So I'm really glad now that they're repaired that they can't use that against us.
Did you have any injuries from the cracks on the court?
I personally have not. My tennis shoes are really worn down at the bottom though from the cracks. So I did fall many a time from my tennis shoes, especially at the net. So that was not fun. I'm gonna have to get new shoes now.
Alright. How do you feel about the fact that you couldn't play on the courts over the summer?
It didn't really affect me too much. I was out playing basketball most of the time, so it was nice to sort of get a break from tennis and basketball and just take the whole summer to myself and just other extracurriculars. I did take up pickleball over the summer a little bit, but going to Riverside and just the 2 pickleball courts is it's not as fun as when you have 8 at the high school.
And how do you feel about them adding pickleball to the tennis courts now?
I have personally played pickleball in the high school courts. I don't think it'll affect in school matches at all, but I mean, I'm pretty excited for it, and I'm also excited for the upcoming pickleball tournament.
Up next is an interview with one of the coaches from the speech team, Mrs. Grams.
Speech team has 15 different events. We have events where people write the pieces themselves. We have limited prep events where they have either 30 seconds to 30 minutes to prepare. We have events where they'll read a book, where they are reading something that somebody else has written, where they have written it themselves and then they've memorized it. So we cover the whole gamut. We have practices Mondays and Wednesdays once our season starts toward the end of October. So we have Saturday meets, but we also have practices through the week, and so those are the majority of our events. Sometimes we are invited to present our pieces at Kiwanis, Rotary, and things like that. I think speech has lifetime benefits. You're always going to be communicating with people. You're always going to be speaking with people and in cooperative settings. And so if you can learn to communicate, make that effective eye contact, and learn that your voice matters when you're in high school, it'll make post-high school so much easier for you. I think everybody should join speech because if nothing else, it makes you step out of your comfort zone and say, I do have things that I need to say that matter. What I need to say needs to be heard by so many people. So you might not be a theatrical interpretive person, but you might enjoy the public events of what's going on in the world. You might enjoy the news. You might enjoy being a radio personality. And so there's really a fit for just about every single type of person.
This week marks the 23rd anniversary of the attack on the Twin Towers. I know that there are lots of people that remember that day vividly, so here are my parents to talk about what they experienced on that day.
My name is Matthew, and I host the morning show on 102.3 The River.
Alright, so I know that you had a very interesting experience on 9/11, so could you share about what happened?
Yeah, that day was super surreal. I remember at the time our news guy was Joe Ullery, and he broke in with this story of a plane hitting one of the Twin Towers. And I had heard stories of, like back in the 20s, where, you know, little biplanes would run into the Empire State Building. And I remember that morning, there was not a cloud in the sky. It was gorgeous. I thought, well, maybe in New York, it's cloudy, it's foggy, maybe someone got off course and, you know, they hit the Trade Center. And you got to remember, this is 2001, so we didn't have the instant news coverage like we do now. Like, you couldn't just go on the internet and find it right away. And then it happened again, and we knew something terrible was going on. And then a little while later, we hear about, you know, the plane going down in Pennsylvania, the plane hitting the Pentagon. And at that point, as a radio station in programming, what we did is we went, we were an affiliate with CBS, I remember, and we went to their on-air feed. So we just took off everything we normally would do and just put on CBS. So we had, like, Dan Rather on the air constantly, giving updates about what was going on. And we had just been in our building for like 2 years, and we did not have a TV. So we had no way of even seeing what was going on, and we had no idea what it looked like. I didn't even see it until that afternoon. But I will never forget sitting in the studio, listening to the news people describe the Twin Towers as it collapsed, and it was just the most surreal experience. And you know, we just kept walking around saying, "What is going on? What is happening? What is going on?" And in the days after that, we took off all programming, and we just left our CBS going all the time, 24/7. So that was a Tuesday, and I think we went back on the air normal programming on Friday. So, you know, a few days of just straight coverage. And it was weird, because how do you handle that coming back? You know, do you pretend like you know what you're talking about when it comes to Middle East terrorism? I mean, or do you pretend it didn't happen? It was such a weird spot to be in, because there was so much we were unsure of. There was so much we didn't know about. There were so many unknowns, and there was so much panic going on. And you know, I remember having a very difficult time addressing that as a broadcaster. And but we managed to get through. We kind of were all in this together. As cliche as that sounds, that's kind of how it was then. But yeah, it was super surreal day, and just unlike anything that I had ever experienced. And I know it's like every generation has their big event. Like, you know, people can remember when Kennedy was shot. People can remember when the space shuttle blew up. We remember 9/11. like it was yesterday, and I will never forget it.
Hi, I'm Lindsay Pryfogel, and I'm the Kids Ministry Director at Logansport Church.
So I know that you had a very interesting experience on 9/11, so could you share about what happened?
Yes, I was at the time working at Grissom Air Reserve Base. I was a student hired there, and the day of 9/11, we had gotten a report that the first tower had been hit by a plane, and so me and a couple other people ran to the break room to watch it on TV. And just as we were in there, the second tower got hit, and it was such a surreal day because it was like, I remember it was like so sunny and nice here and in New York. And while we were watching, then we just kept watching, and the other planes were hitting at the Pentagon and in Pennsylvania. And then we went back to our office because we weren't sure what was going on. We were starting to, I remember when the plane hit the Pentagon, our phones started ringing like crazy, because at that point we felt like it was definitely some sort of attack. And so our security forces guys were calling to say they were on their way. They didn't know if they were being deployed or what was going to happen as far as a war or anything was concerned. So that was very scary. I felt like when the plane hit the Pentagon, we were afraid that it was going to start hitting all different types of places that were important, which Grissom probably would have been on that list if it was like sweeping across the whole United States. So at that time I was 21, and I got in my car and left because it was scary and I didn't know what to do. So that day I went home. I think I maybe avoided being at work the next day, but after that, then I came back to work, which was scary because at that point there were armed guards at the check-in point to get into the base. They had to search your car before you could even come on base. They had like these like mirror things that they rolled under your car to like make sure there was no like bombs or anything like that. It was really kind of terrifying. But I also am a military kid, so during that time my dad was also being deployed. So so that happened on September 11th, and he was deployed, I believe, the 13th. It was scary. I had to work the out processing line and like tell them certain things from the security forces department for when they left. It was also very scary because none of them knew where they were going. It was all top secret. So my dad left on the 13th. I don't know. It was probably a day or so before we heard from him. And he actually ended up in Hawaii at first, so that was nice for him. But he was actually gone from September until like 2 days before Christmas, maybe. We moved out of the house I grew up in during that time. We moved out, and he wasn't with us. So when he came back, we lived someplace completely different. But it was a very scary time. It affected our family quite a bit.